Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast. My name is Andy Spiteri, joined by Dakota Lasky. Dak, how you doing? How was your WrestleMania weekend?
Oh boy! Oh yeah, we haven't even talked about WrestleMania. We didn't even go over like how we felt about it or our thoughts. Yeah, wow. No, my WrestleMania was good. My WrestleMania weekend, I'm sorry, was pretty good. Yeah. Pretty chill. Caught up. Actually, I had a bunch of casting to do. Casted some Valorant collegiate, some college Valorant on Saturday, and then I was commentating some collegiate Smash Ultimate Crew battles on Sunday, yesterday, or Tuesday. I'm sorry, a couple days ago, back on Sunday. So I had a busy weekend, and then WrestleMania happened, and that was happened. So yeah,
okay.
there were some good matches. There were some not good matches. And no real big surprises, which was kind of a big letdown. But I thought it was a decent watch. How you doing?
I'm not doing too bad. Nothing really exciting in my world right now. Unfortunately, I'm still playing this game that I bought for like $10. It's called Murder by Numbers. It's on the Switch, and it's like a mix of Pictocross and Phoenix Wright. And I've been at this thing for like 50 hours now, mostly because I'm just really bad at Pictocross. But that's really the only exciting thing going on with me. WrestleMania was okay. It was just okay. But Bad Bunny, man, holy.
That was the match of the night.
Yeah,
100%. That was the match of the night. Obviously I know he's not doing the Canadian Destroyer, but like they did a Canadian Destroyer spot on the mat. Like that was awesome. He looked great.
I don't care who you are. That's pretty sick if you're doing a Canadian Destroyer.
It was a great match. I was totally into that match. I popped off for a number of spots. I think it was the only match I like significantly popped off for any particular spots for. So yeah, that was a great match. I would love to see more of him. I think he's going to be away for a little while, if not for a long while. And I know he has a tour next year, so I'm sure he's not looking to get injured before that. But he did great. And decent. That was the match of the weekend for me. That and Bianca versus Sasha. That was really good. But I think the match of the weekend for me was the Bad Bunny match.
All you wrestling fans out there, get at us and let us know what your favorite.
When are we doing the wrestling podcast? So I'm ready.
Yeah, right. We should. You know what? My buddy Gooey has a wrestling podcast, and every year they're on this time. I'm just like, hey, do you need a guest? But we should get to business here because we actually have a lot to talk about. We are back with Inspired by Metroid here, and we are going to be covering Shadow Complex. And this wasn't exactly a huge surprise. I tweeted out that I was playing Shadow Complex a few weeks ago, but we have a lot of stuff to get to before we actually get to Shadow Complex. So let's just start off with the big announcement. A lot of you guys asked for it. We finally delivered. We have our own dedicated Discord server, the Omega Metroid podcast server. Come and hang out with us there. If you're a regular who interacts with us on Twitter, we'd love to have you over in our Discord chat. You can come and you can talk Metroid, you can talk video games, you can talk whatever you want. Come hang out. I'm sure that we'll do some fun things in the future as well. And we appreciate the community that we have over on Twitter. So if you guys are able and willing, come and join us over on Discord. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, definitely. Don't feel obligated, of course, but Discord's a lot of fun. I'm in a ton of Discord servers, and it's great to just have everyone there to just chit chat and not have the limits of Twitter, right? Once we have a ton of people in the server, we'll definitely even before that, but we'll definitely do a lot of like cool stuff. Like maybe we'll do a game night or something like that, or watching something. Like we definitely have some cool stuff like down the line for this server. But yeah, we cooked that up. It's if you want to get in, the link is in the Twitter bio for the account. So you just go to the Omega Metroid podcast at Omega Metroid Pod on Twitter. The Discord link is right there in the bio. It's also been tweeted out a couple times too. You might have already seen it. Click that link and you can join us or not. But yeah, if you do, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, no doubt. If you're listening on Podbean too, you can click in the episode notes and it'll take you right over there. I'm not in a bunch of Discord servers, so the ones that I am a part of, I'm usually fairly active. So Zelda Dungeon, Virtual Theater, Metroid Database.
How many are you in?
Let's
just
see.
off the top, just skim and glance. How many?
10. I think 10.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
10.
in at least 30, and
Oh my god.
I just left. I think like 10 or 15 that I don't go into anymore. But
So
I think I have 30,
this
35.
of this 10, at least half of them are ones that I don't go into, which
Hmm.
is fine. That's fine. But yeah, we'd love to have you. I will definitely be in this Discord chat. We had a good chat today about Nintendo and their practices of taking down fan made games and stuff. So this is the kind of conversation that we want you guys to be a part of. So definitely check it out. We have a little bit of shilling to do here for a couple friends of the show that asked for some shout outs. So bear with me while while I give you some cool details on some projects coming up. Joris Smiley, sorry, Joris, for butchering your name there. At 313 Trill has tweeted out that man, this guy's got a book coming out pretty soon, and it is I guess heavily inspired by Metroid. The book is actually called Torian, so I mean that sounds pretty cool. I obviously I haven't read it, but I heard that it just came out on the 9th. So anyone looking to go and get yourself a book that shares maybe some influences from Metroid, you can go and check it out. blackgoldpublishing.com. Torian by Jerice Smiley. So you know what? Anytime anyone's doing something Metroidy, I always love to see it, love to support it. So yeah,
Yeah.
shout out to you.
I'm definitely gonna check it out. Is it available? Can you get it right already? I'm not.
I think so. I think so. He said that it would be available on the 9th. So April
On
9th.
the
So
ninth.
it should be out. So
Cool.
yeah.
Well, I got the page up. I'm gonna actually grab it after the show. So the cover looks really dope. It's called Torian. A modern coming to age tale about overcoming the odds and becoming a real superheroine, which sounds like fun. The cover looks dope,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'll throw it to him. So yeah, shout outs to Joris. Looks dope.
Yeah, and you know what? Much love for getting that Metroid name out there, even if it's that's a cool title because if you know, you know, and if you don't, then you probably wouldn't. But that's cool to see. So yeah, check that out at 313 Trill. Another cool thing going on. Friend of the show, Metroid 35 is doing some cool stuff here. We got a few projects that they're putting on. So at Metroid 35 over on Twitter. For the first thing that they're doing is kind of a cool spin on the old Inktober gimmick. And of course, in the Zelda community, there's something called Linktober, and that's a big thing now. So we have Metroid coming up, and basically what that is it is a 30-day art prompt challenge. I do believe that's the gimmick behind it. So you can go and check that out. But maybe more importantly, Metroid 35 is putting together a fan zine project. So there's tons of the different opportunities if you are a Metroid content creator. I'm just going to actually read you the copy straight from the email that Isabel, the person behind Metroid 35, sent me. So Metroid 35 is a fanzine project that is being developed by Metroid fans for Metroid fans. Currently, there will be a digital version of the zine that will be released in August with potential limited print run after that. Metroid 35 is seeking all kinds of creatives such as artists, writers, cosplayers, and comic artists. Because there will be potential print run, some guidelines regarding page size and numbers have been posted to the Metroid 35 Instagram page. Deadline for submissions is June 5th, so get up in there, and if you're interested, please make sure that you contribute. If you have any questions, Instagram, Twitter, at Metroid35, or by email, Metroid35Annie, ANNI, at gmail.com. So this is kind of a cool thing, and again, what we like to see in the Metroid community, people doing stuff and being creative. So, if you like to draw, if you like to do anything creative like that, go and give Metroid 35 a shout.
Yeah, I know. I was talking to Duminal about this. I think either earlier today or yesterday about putting something together. I think he's already put something together music-wise for one of the days. That dude's mad creative. Shout outs to him.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what people put together. By the way, that book we just talked about, I just ordered it. I want to read it, and I'm supporting the homie, so I just grabbed that. But yeah, Metroid 35. That looks cool, and I love when you see these like community fanzines come out. Like I know there was one that came out for Super Smash Bros. In that community, like in the Smash community, like a year or two ago, maybe like before COVID, and the year before that. And a couple others in other communities too. And they're like, obviously like, a passion project. You see some really cool stuff from people you might not have heard of. So I love seeing stuff like this. And for Metroid, of course, it's certainly nice to see. So can't wait for that to come out as well.
Yeah, so cool
And
stuff.
to do that and participate, yeah.
Yeah, cool stuff all around. I might even get in on this action myself. So
Yeah, me too.
if I can get in, anybody listening can definitely get in. So go and hit them up, Metroid35 over on Twitter. All right. Well, before Dak oh, you know what? Actually, I almost skipped one thing. Take this with a grain of salt.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody listening, take it with a grain of salt, as always. But I guess that there is a huge new Nintendo leak. I always kind of roll my eyes whenever I hear that. But the link that you sent me, Dak, a couple things. You're going to have to catch me up and maybe give me some background here. Because a couple things stuck out to me when you sent me the thread. Because the thread was actually from January. And it was going on to say things like, okay, there's going to be a Skyward Sword HD remake, which came true. There's going to be a new Mario Golf game, which came true. There's going to be something else that they said that came true.
The Diamond and Pearl remakes. Which
yeah, Diamond and Pearl remake. And they said Detective Famicom Club, which also came true. So there's a bunch of stuff in Pokemon Snap, which came true. So there's a bunch of stuff in here which, wasn't announced in January, but has come to fruition. The reason that we mention it, the reason that, we care is because on this list of stuff coming to the Switch in 2021 or maybe early 2022, we've got Metroid Prime Trilogy and a new 2D Metroid coming very soon by Mercury Steam. I don't know, man. We've been burned by this before. What do you think, Dak?
Yeah, so I'm not sure why this got talked about recently. I'm pretty sure just a site or two just found out about we talked about this on the Metroid Dread episode a couple weeks ago, right? Where something happens in the news, but a couple sites didn't write about it, didn't hear about it, and then they hear about it a month or two later and they write about it, and then a bunch of other people pick that up as if it's new news. And that's
Right.
what kind of happened here, right? This leak or a 4chan post comes out back in January. It calls a bunch of stuff that eventually comes true, as you said. And then it seems like a site or a couple of sites in the past week or so found out about it and are now oh my God, look at all this new information that's new to them. And now they're reporting on it. So yeah, obviously for anyone who's been part of the game speculation game for a while, 99% of 4chan posts that are called leaks are not true, but some have been true over the years. This one seems to get some stuff right. And then, yeah, obviously we're interested because on the list after Mario Kart 9, which actually I'm also interested in, Mario Kart 9, and a bunch of other stuff, Pokemon Snap was also announced here too, or revealed or leaked here too. And that was also a real thing. Two games that we're interested in, a 2D Metroid in parentheses, very soon by Mercury Steam, and then Metroid
Yes.
Prime Trilogy, obviously for Switch. And then it goes on from there. So yeah, 2D Metroid very soon by Mercury Steam, and then Metroid Prime Trilogy either for Switch or Switch Pro, which it doesn't say, it just says Metroid Prime Trilogy. I assume it means for whatever current Switches exist at the time.
Right. And you know what? Not to take away from this, because this actually has a lot of stuff that is correct, but I also do feel like if you were just a more knowledgeable fan like you or I are of Nintendo, Dak, you could probably hypothesize that a bunch of these would be coming out. We've been talking about Diamond and Pearl for forever. We've been talking about the Skyward Sword HD for the 10-year anniversary. I feel like it makes sense for a new Fire Emblem game, but let's give it the benefit of the doubt. The one thing that sticks out to me here is at the very bottom of this post, they say that there's two Smash characters that are being ballied around here. One is Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden, which I could totally see. I could totally see that character coming to Smash. But then the second character is, I'm going to butcher this, Matoi from Phantasy Star Online. I don't buy that one, man.
I have no idea. I honestly don't know. I see how it's written. It says Ryu Hayabusa is in this wave, so Fighter Pass 2. There's 2 more slots in that Fighter Pass. But the sentence is, Ryu Hayabusa is in this wave. There will be additional fighters confirmed to be in development. A fighter from Sega's Phantasy Star series is planned, seemingly being PS02 or wow, holy crap. Phantasy Star Online 2 Matoi. So, yeah. It seems to be hinting that Ryu's confirmed for Fighter Pass 2. Potentially there's a Fighter Pass 3, which both of those things are honestly safe bets. Ryu has been a speculated character for a while. Obviously, Gaiden trilogy or whatever is still or is going to be available if it isn't already on the Switch. So there'll be that connection, and then there being a Fighter Pass 3. I mean, Smash Ultimate's what the best-selling Smash game so far, or is going to be,
a mile, yeah.
right? It's on the Switch. Obviously, they're going to keep trying to milk as much money as they can out of it. I highly doubt that they're stopping at Fighter Pass 2. I thought a Fighter Pass 3 was inevitable, but I think it's interesting because the wording makes it seem like Ryu is part of Fighter Pass 2. Metroid is just potentially in development and at some stage, like they might not even be, they might just be in the planning stage. They might be from Fighter Pass 3, you know? So, obviously
God.
I obviously want Master Chief in the game. So not seeing Master Chief named is annoying, but it also gives me hope because it seems like more characters are being developed, which gives my mans more of a chance.
You know what? You know what's funny? Before I even met you, Dak, I was predicting that Chief would be like the last big reveal in Smash. So that it's funny.
So he can finish the
that
fight.
Yeah, kindred
That's what
spirits
they got
in that
to
way.
like. You have to have the line there, the finish the fight line. You got it.
I don't know, man. Like Matoy, I'm sure that Phantasy Star has its fans out there, but if you are listening to this podcast and you knew who Matoy was before we just said they were from Phantasy Star Online, tweet at us or get at us in the Omega Metroid Discord and tell me that I'm wrong. But I think I feel safe saying that, like, I don't think anybody knows who the heck that is. That doesn't seem like a good pick for Smash to me, but I've been wrong many times before.
To be fair, that's like a kind of game that I would think is, popular in Japan, right? Like that's what I'm assuming, is that it's not a character for, for North America. That game, I'm pretty sure it didn't take forever for Phantasy Star Online 2 to even come to North America. Like it wasn't even localized for North America for years. So like it came out in like 2013, and I think it didn't come to North America until like years later. But I think it is coming to the Switch. The Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis. That is a game
maybe that makes more sense then, yeah.
There is also Phantasy Star Online 2 Cloud, which is a cloud version of the game available for the Switch, which was released on April 2018. So apparently, this is the game has apparently over back in 2013 it had like 2.5 million users. I would assume that this is a game that's very popular in Japan. Yeah, I'm looking at the releases. It released in Japan on Microsoft Windows in 2012 and NA in 2020. For the Vita, only in Japan in 2013. PlayStation 4, only in Japan in 2016. It wasn't brought to North America until 2020 for Xbox One and PC, and then for the Switch. So, and that's not even on the Switch and NA yet. So, like, I'm assuming Matoy would be, like, part of the Phantasy Star Online 2 game, like, being more available in North America in the next year or two.
Well, like I said, I've been wrong before. If you're a Matoy fan, come and let me know in Omega Metroid Discord. If we're gonna have random Sega characters in Smash Bros, though, you got to get my man Vice from Skies of Arcadia Legends in there. He's a goat. I would love to see that.
There are a lot of cool characters that you could get. Honestly, I feel like we gotta like quickly go back to the Metroid stuff. Metroid Prime Trilogy. Definitely, if this is all true, Metroid Prime Trilogy coming out on Switch, it has to by now, man. Like, how much longer are they gonna wait? And then 2D Metroid, Mercury Steam working on it. What do you think? Like, do you think maybe they'd be doing another remake? Like, maybe they're doing the Fusion remake or the Super Metroid remake, or they're making finally the Fusion sequel? I don't know. Maybe I'm hoping if Mercury Steam is working on this Metroid game again, then Nintendo's giving them the opportunity to make a new one rather than remaking an old one.
You know what? I think it's a 50-50 shot that they're either working on a Fusion sequel or that they're working on a new Metroid. For whatever reason, I just don't think that they're going to remake Super Metroid. For the same reason that they never remade Super Mario World or like Link to the Past or like any of those great old games. Like I think that they're just like so timeless, and we'll talk more about Fusion next week, but I think that game and they even kind of hint at that game at the end of Samus Returns. So I would say it's a toss up between that and a new game. Obviously, a new game makes more sense, but I mean, God, we haven't had it in so long that it's like I almost don't even want to say it. But yeah, but and again, this is kind of what I mean when I say like you can take educated guesses and present that as you have inside information for a leak, because like I think it's very reasonable to assume that Metroid Prime Trilogy is coming to the Switch, as we've said numerous times before. I think it's very reasonable to assume that Mercury Steam is probably working on a 2D Metroid, and you have that wiggle room, especially posting leaks now, where if you're wrong, you could say, oh well, actually it got delayed for something, where you don't actually. And I don't mean to kind of be Debbie Downer here on this leak, but I'm just saying that I think that a lot of these are educated guesses.
I definitely agree with that, especially because like the post starts with 2021 will have a bunch of anniversaries. So this person could have easily just looked at a bunch of franchises, saw which ones have are anniversaries this year, and then was like, oh, okay, like this game could possibly get a new one. Oh, this game hasn't been remade from this franchise. It's getting an anniversary this year. Oh, that could be a remake. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think that's part of it too.
Yep, I 100% agree. Man, I would love if this was true though. I would love if it was true.
Absolutely, me too. If this is true, and I'm getting Mario Kart 9 soon, a new 2D Metroid soon, new Mario Golf soon. The only thing that really, I guess, doesn't like. Oh, and there's also another Zelda title it mentions as well from Grezzo, and then Dark Souls 2 port. I mean, I'm waiting for the leak that tells me Master Chief's in the game. Ridley got leaked, and that ended up being true, so I'm waiting for that.
Yep. Okay, well let's we're not quite at Shadow Complex yet, but by God, we're almost there. We have news of another Inspired by Metroid title that we should probably talk about before we get into Shadow Complex. The first look at Axiom Verge 2 since it was announced. And you know what? Actually, now that I say this, there is a Nintendo Indie World Direct on the 14th, which very well could have the Axiom Verge 2 release date in there. But yeah, we got Tom Happ, the one-man band behind Axiom Verge, and he gave us an inside look into Axiom Verge 2. Although we're not really, actually. He held a lot back and played a lot close to the chest, as probably he probably should. But the one thing that he kind of repeated over and over is like, this is a standalone experience. It's a complementary experience, and it's set in the same universe, and it has the same DNA, but it is its own experience. So I really liked what I saw from this trailer. Not a very long trailer, but what I saw looked promising.
Yeah, and I like that. I thought the original game story was cool and all, but I wasn't dying to see it extended or anything. It seemed like it was self-contained, and I kind of like that they're doing something completely different, but trying to keep it fresh in that way, but while still making it familiar to people who enjoyed the first game. It looks really cool. I was definitely unexpected that they were going to make that kind of detour in terms of the style, but yeah, it looks dope. At least from what we saw. I would say that we didn't see too much, and I haven't poured over it because I'm just trying to. I'm waiting until we get more of a fuller reveal when we get closer to being able to play the game, because I'm not trying to really spoil myself. But from what I saw, it definitely looks like it's going to be a worthy successor to the first game.
Yeah, and so the video is about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and I would say at least half of the footage shown was footage from Axiom Verge, like the first one. The second one looks a little bit different. The pixels look a little bit maybe sleeker is the word. I'm not sure, but it definitely looks different. You play as a different character. You're Indra, who is a billionaire CEO behind the Globe 3 conglomerate. So shout out to Indra. And you got a sword in this game. And I saw some definite Ninja Gaiden vibes from Indra in that trailer. So very cool stuff. It's going to launch on Epic Games Store and Switch spring 2021. So that's now. So hopefully we're talking a lot more about Axiom Verge 2 very, very soon.
Yeah, I mean, maybe by the time y'all are listening to this episode, the game's exact release date's been revealed, or it's already out. They just drop it at the end of the Indie Direct, and who knows? Maybe you're playing it already by the time you listen to this.
Oh, that would be so good. So good. All right, we're finally here. I've stalled as long as I can, Dak. It's time to talk about Shadow Complex.
Shadow
And
Complex. Yeah.
so
What a
I
game.
want to I just want to say something here at the top of the show, and then I'm gonna hand it over to you just for a quick second for your impressions. But um, so I am a big believer in positive podcasts. I like listening to podcasts that are more positive, and I've tried to have that on our shows. And we beat up on Other M a little bit, but I think that even that was a positive experience.
I
But
could have gone way harsher on Other M if I
oh
really
yeah.
wanted to.
Oh yeah,
You know,
I've heard you go way harsher on Other M,
I
but that
held
was a
back.
positive experience. Um,
Yes.
but I have to be honest with our listeners. I have to be. I was ready to love Shadow Complex. I had heard so much about it. I was just like, this game sounds awesome. It's by the Gears of War guys. It's like, it seems like it's right up my alley. I was ready to love it. I went into it just absolutely ready to be like blown away by this modern Metroidvania, and I hated it. You know what? I have to admit again to our listeners, I didn't even finish it because I hated it so much. So you know what? I'll dive into my reasons here, but Dak, I know that you just finished playing it from start to finish.
Yeah.
Really quickly, just generally speaking, what do you think?
Yeah, I literally just finished playing it. Like I started playing it like 3 o'clock today, and then finished the game, and then we started recording. So I put in 5 hours into the game. It's not my favorite Metroidvania. I'll definitely say that. But that being said, I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was good. After what you said, because you kind of gave me a little bit of how you felt about the game before I'd even touched it. And I've never played the game before, even though I knew about it. So I was going into this like, oh, this game's not going to be that good, blah, blah, blah. And I actually thought it was pretty decent. I thought, it's not a game I'm like dying to go back and play again, but I might revisit it in the future. I think it was worth the one play that I played. I don't know if it was worth the entire $15 I spent to play it, but it is what it is. I thought it was for the most part, an enjoyable experience, and I also streamed it, so that made it help more of a more fun too. I didn't do it by myself necessarily, but yeah, I thought it was pretty. I thought it was decent. I thought it was pretty good.
Well, here we go. Shadow Complex was
Yeah,
released worldwide August 19th, 2009. So,
9. Wow.
wow, that's 11, almost 11 years old. Developed by Chair Entertainment and Epic Games. Published by Microsoft Game Studios. And you know what? One of the reasons I think I was so ready to love this game is because like it has an awesome Metacritic score. I had heard people in the Metroid community talk really, really fondly about it, and I wish I could. So I guess there's two parts of me when I'm talking about Shadow Complex. Much like there was Other M, I thought that the game itself, the gameplay was okay, but I loathed the story and the
Oh well,
characters.
yeah. The story and the characters were bad, but they weren't. I mean, you can't possibly say they were even remotely as bad as Other M's. Because they weren't. And not only were they weren't, but they were random, so it wasn't like we had any connection to them. I mean, one of them's Nolan North, obviously, but it's not like Other M where like they butchered characters we knew. These are the characters that they've always been. So I 100. If you're gonna go as far as to say that they were the story and the characters were as bad or worse than Other M, then you are Captain Crunch, my friend. I cannot agree to that. It was pretty bad, but it wasn't that bad.
You know what? I wasn't gonna say that, but now that it's out there, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it.
It wasn't offensively bad, man. I'm sorry, it wasn't.
It wasn't like playing Other M when I was Samus. That we threw around the word character assassination, and obviously this isn't that because these characters are nobodies and they don't mean anything. But I think that's like that was a big part of my problem. So the and it's funny because there's some seasoned voice actors in this one, but I thought that like I think it was more so the diet like the written dialogue for these actors, like what was written for them, and rather
Yeah.
than their acting itself. But like the delivery was horrible. The dialogue was horrible. I thought that the whole thing was horrible, and this is the first cutscene. So I'm watching this.
The first cutscene, I feel like we're even going very far ahead. The first cutscene, I had a whole paragraph about the first cutscene. Before we get that far, though, I wanted to say that I hadn't played the game before going into this. It was $15 and not on the Game Pass, which I was like, wow, middle finger to me.
Yeah, right?
Because I was like, this game is, I mean, at the end of playing it, this is a game that I would recommend to someone who likes Metroidvanias, but not for $15. If it was on sale for $5-10, I'd be like, yeah, go grab it. But I wouldn't pay $15 for it. It's an Xbox Live arcade game, you know, like nowadays that's like the equivalent of like a mobile game or like a cheap free to play Steam game, right? But back then, Xbox Live arcade games, that was like a thing, right? And I remember not being able to play, or I didn't play the game back then because Xbox Live arcade games were obviously digital, and I didn't have a credit card as a kid or like access to one consistently. So like I couldn't just easily go and buy the game like I could today.
Right.
But the game had 50 Game of the Year and Editor's Choice Awards that year. It was a big game. Yeah, I think when you play the game, it's very obvious that they were only concerned about the gameplay aspect, because the story is obviously like only there to like service the game, like so the game has some kind of narrative structure, right? Like they put like no time into the story. And that's why I can't really, like, Other M tried to have a story and like put effort into the story, and it was bad. This, clearly they didn't care about the story, so I can't like be like, oh, it was really bad, it was really awful. They probably know it wasn't that good. They probably didn't care because it wasn't, that's not the point of the game. Whereas Other M, the point of the game was to tell this big Metroid story, and it fell on its face. So I won't knock it on that either. But yeah, that the game's voice, I mean, the voice acting I think was decent, because like you have like Nolan North, you know, like I mean they pay him the big bucks.
Royalty.
They pay him the big bucks for a reason. Even in this game, he might be chewing the scenery a little bit, but he's at least making it interesting, like a little bit. Like there are a couple of moments I laughed. But the story is very like a generic action. You know, there's
my God.
Story. The characters are essentially nobody. In fact, you get into the story, and a lot of stuff has already happened. Stuff is happening. You start in the middle of the story, I would say. Like and there's information that you don't even know what's happening. There's a bunch of people shooting at each other in the middle of a street, not in cover, like just blind firing at each other from 5 feet away. Some person that like what was his name? Colonel Sam Dallas. Right?
Yeah,
who looks like...
I forgot about that, because like again, it's so everything in this game is so generic. Everything in this game is like create a character and just go with the custom setting that they give you, and you go to create a character and you're just like, this'll do. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Next.
So it was, what was he looks like, what was that PS2 game? The guy with like the electrical powers. I can't remember what that game was called. He looks like that dude. But yeah, as far as what I could tell, the story of the game is the Colonel Sam Dallas guy, like stole a suit, which we end up stealing later, and like attacks a bunch of people, and then he's like turned on by the big bad guy. And then later, Nolan North and his girlfriend, who we later find out is a spy, spoilers, they tell you at the very end of the game, and there's no proper build for it. Nolan North and his girlfriend are, I don't know, like screwing around in the woods. I don't like going on a date, and they like, I think
let's back up there for a second. Actually, let's back up, because they're not dating. It's inferred in the opening cutscene. This is like their first date or something.
Well, okay, they are in the process. Like that's the first date.
Sure,
okay, yeah,
sure.
Okay,
but then it's just
dating,
like,
right.
So, and I get that they want to build up this Jason guy is like this great guy who's gonna go and rescue this girl that was just captured. But like, dude. You just met her, and like she just disappeared, and you're going into the, the dialogue between those two was like so awfully cringeworthy. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I agree. The dialogue is definitely cringeworthy, but I will give them the benefit of the doubt here is that they didn't really build they didn't build him up to be any kind of guy. The game actually emphasizes a lot that he's a nobody. Like the last scene is him literally saying, I'm just a nobody, blah blah. And a bunch of the dialogue is him going like, oh, like this sucks, like, but I gotta go save her, like I can't leave her to get like kidnapped by these people. So he kind of like goes in reluctantly and like doesn't like and like is like what's going on, you know? So I definitely don't think the game makes it seem like he's like a big hero. He's kind of just a dude, and that's kind of the point again, is that he's just a guy that is in the wrong place at the wrong time, and it's like, well, I guess I kind of have to get involved here because I can't leave her to die or whatever. Like I don't, like I can't do that to a person. So that I was okay with. Yeah, like the dialogue was cringy and dumb, but the setup I thought at that point was fine because I mean, obviously anybody's gonna go after that person, So but at the same time, he's like meandering through this like top secret like underground fortress essentially, and it's like immediately murdering people with like no reluctancy. And he's like, oh, like this is strange, like as if it's no big deal. Like he's walking through what's essentially like the Pentagon itself or more top secret, and he's like, that's whoa, like as if it's like some small little thing he's doing. That I thought was funny. Just the tone of the game is very tongue in cheek.
I just want to try and emphasize like what there was a couple of moments that really turned me off in the opening, like probably in the opening 15 minutes of this game, and I don't think the game ever recovered for me. Where like, I mean, the first intro that you described with like I think it was the president or I don't know something. The opening action scene where you're fighting the helicopter is okay, and then you meet Jason, and to me he was so generic and like unlikable, and he was a caricature of an action hero, and like he was dressed here. I mean, his name is Jason, for God's sakes, like
Jason Fleming.
And so like I didn't. The dialogue between him and her, Claire, was just like, it was so machismo that I was rolling my eyes, and I didn't buy into any kind of connection. And I know, like you rightfully said, like, this is a game with a story designed just to get us to where we need to go, and like that's fine. But I just like, it just didn't work for me at all. And then, shortly after Claire gets kidnapped, they cut to the scene of this guard. And he is just repeatedly punching her in the face.
Dude, oh my God. That was that. So I played this game on stream. So you get to that scene, right? She's like being held. All right, well, Nolan North gets to like a computer terminal and sees like a video playing. Like it's a live stream of her getting like interrogated or whatever. And like the guy like winds up, and obviously don't want him to like slap a woman either. But it looked like he's going to like slap her to like, interrogate her, like get her to talk, and instead just starts wailing on her like multiple times, like whoa, like holy crap, like very early into the game. That was out of nowhere,
like 15 minutes in, and
I was wow, that was something.
I was so turned off. I actually shut the game off when that happened. And I picked it up.
I definitely took a moment. I was like, dude, what the hell? Like, that was not necessary. That we did. If anything, cut away and have the sound effect while you see Nolan North's face. If you're gonna do that, yeah. Right?
And you know what?
Kind of, I don't know.
I mean, listen. Like, it's one thing. It's one thing when Samus gets beat up. Okay, like she's a big intergalactic bounty warrior. You know what? It's one thing when God, what's her name? Ellie from The Last of Us. It's one thing when the girl from The Last of Us gets beat up, because at least they've made you, like, you've shown her journey and she's trying to like, at least she has a story and a purpose. But this was just like so gratuitous, so unnecessary. I was just like, Jesus.
Yeah, that was definitely unnecessary. I don't know what, that was way out of left field, and then it like doesn't happen again in the game. So it's it's way out of nowhere.
And I feel like I'm a guy that can watch a lot of like kind of comedy that pushes a lot of the edge, or goes up to the line and stuff.
Yeah.
This just was, oh my God, I saw that and I was just like, what the hell is going on here? Like,
on the other hand, though, I will say that this story had a couple of good writing moments. I'm not gonna give it too much credit, but like the moments where like Nolan North is like talking to a bad guy or something, and then he just like point blank like puts a single like shot in their head, like when you think that, like when in a movie when the character won't kill the bad guy because they're too good to do that and lets them talk. In this game, Nolan North just has no problem in cold blood murdering someone point blank, and he does it with like no problem at all. Like it's so nonchalant that it's very funny, and it happens multiple times in the game. It even happens, spoilers because you didn't finish it, to the main bad guy. He just walks up. Actually, no, I won't go into that entirely, but it does happen multiple times in the game, and it's just the comedic timing is great, and that's when I'm like, yeah, like they obviously didn't care about the story. They're trying to like they did stupid generic action stuff because that's the easiest thing to write. This guy's just a generic dude, and then every once in a while there's a couple quips, a couple jokes because like they can do that, and Nolan North is great at that kind of delivery too. And those moments like that did make me laugh. I was like, okay, like all right, game, you got me there a couple times.
Yeah, I think that they were trying to go for like a Die Hard kind of vibe, but it just didn't work because this Jason guy does not have the charisma of Bruce Willis, and you never saw Hans Gruber, beat the hell out of his wife in that movie. So didn't work for me. But I mean, let's not beat up on the story. It kind of is what it is. Let's talk about the gameplay because I actually this is not where the other M comparisons stop for me. When I was playing this, Shadow Complex has this weird quasi 2D, 3D mapping thing where like you can only move left to right in 2D, but your enemies and the objects in the environment can move left to right and front to back. So it's this weird depth problem that the game usually will get itself into because an enemy has to walk up to a certain point before you automatically aim towards it. And I thought that the mechanic was awkward. I thought that the auto aiming was horrible. You know what? That's one I'm going to give Other M credit here. It did auto aiming way better than this game did, and in 3D. So well, I don't know how you feel about that, but I thought that this was a big problem throughout the entire game, particularly when you have rooms with like multiple enemies in a 2D setting. It didn't work for me at all, particularly the auto aiming in those scenarios, because like you can't tell who you're shooting at. You're just shooting and you're like, God, I hope I'm auto aiming at somebody and I hit them.
Yeah, well, the thing is that the game allows you to turn off the auto aim, so I just turned it off. So that I didn't play with the auto aim. I went immediately into the settings. I turned off the auto aim, and played it without it. So I enjoyed the gameplay. I thought the gameplay was a lot of fun, because I had the freedom to shoot at whoever I wanted. So, and the 2D plane, yeah, you're just shooting people left, right, above you, etc. And that's super easy. And then people in the background. Even if you have the auto aim off, it still gives you a little bit of an aim assist. So if you aim into the background, it'll help you out a little bit and put your laser sight on a target. And then you have a little bit of freedom to, change targets in the background, move and maybe give them a headshot, and change your aim on the specific target. So I actually completely disagree. I thought the aiming system was great. The only time I had an issue sometimes, there are a couple of rooms where there's one particular, I don't know if you got to this point in the game, but there's one boss fight, I guess, where there are these 4 minigun guys all the way in the background and these small, hip side, the walls come up. That one was hard because the rate of fire is just huge and you really have no margin of error there. That fight, I actually did put auto aim on because I'd been playing for like 4 hours. I was just like, okay, like I could do this the regular way, but I'm tired. But otherwise, I actually had auto aim off the entire game, and I thought that made it a lot better. I have no interest in playing. It
sounds like it made a big difference. Yeah, that's what I should have done.
It was. I immediately looked for the auto aim option to turn that off because I was like the Gears of War developers aren't that dumb to make this game only auto aim like the other M developers were, and sure enough, they weren't. So I just turned it off, and yeah, it was way better. I had leniency on aiming in people in the background. I was able to pick my shots, so that I enjoyed a lot. It wasn't clean. It wasn't like, there are a couple times where like I felt like I was missing. But I was like, like whatever. Like it didn't like ruin the experience for me. I actually enjoyed the gameplay a fair amount.
Yeah, I would say that was my biggest gripe with the gameplay. That was the single biggest thing I had an issue with. Beyond that, I don't know that anything was like horrible, but nothing also really stood out to me. Like talking about the actual the complex itself, I think that it was and again, I did not finish the game, but it seemed to me like it was just kind of like the same drab rooms kind of over and over and over again. And I know that some people complain about that when you're on like a spaceship in Metroid, like Fusion or Other M or whatever, but at least those games have like different areas and themes to the different sectors. This one to me was a little bit just going from one like dark room to the next dark room. Some rooms are darker than others. Some rooms have water, and every now and then you'll get to go outside. See,
And that's when
I
it's
don't
nice.
know if that changes towards the end of the game, but it was. I wouldn't say it was a game breaker by any means, but it was just a little bit drab for my likings.
No, I mean, well, the last section of the game is in the outside portion. But that's the best part of the game, I think, is when you're outside, because I love the scenery. Looks awesome. The you have like way more space to like jump around and fly and like boost once you have like the shine spark or whatever they call it in this game. Um, and you can like eventually run on the water like that. The outside, when you're up on the surface, it's awesome. But yeah, I agree. Like when you're in the actual complex, like it's essentially corridor after corridor after corridor after corridor. Oh, and then you're in like a cave. Oh, you're crawling here, and then corridor. And they're all the same looking kind of scientific-y, laboratory rooms, right? And then you're in a cave, which looks like a cave, right? Yeah, I definitely agree. It doesn't do much for the eye. There's like maybe one or two rooms. I think there's one room that does like the Donkey Kong Country Returns thing, where it's like a silhouette against like a red background, which is cool. But it's only for like one room, so it doesn't matter. The outside portion I thought looked really cool and awesome, and I wish more of the game had I wish there were more environments like that, and not so much like the game trying to be a Metroid environment when it really didn't capture it as perfectly. But yeah, the outside portion I thought was cool.
Yeah, I obviously I didn't get to the last part, and I mean to be frank, I can't see myself ever going back to this game. But at least it sounds like it opened up a little bit more towards at the end. So I mean, if you guys listening want to play this and you're going to stick it out, I guess you have something to look forward to at the end. One thing that I also thought was a little bit just okay, just room temperature, was the swimming mechanic and the stealth mechanic, because you can do these like cool stealth kills, but like this game never ever from the portion that I played ever gave you a reason to be stealthy. You could just go in and shoot people, and it's way easier. I also wasn't a huge fan of the swimming mechanic. Didn't really like it, and I felt like you were swimming a lot more than I would have expected you to at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I was very rarely stealthy, but I did use the melee a lot because the melee is a free kill. Like towards the end of the game, I was literally just running up to everybody and pressing B. Because it was a lot easier to just run up to people and melee kill them than it was to shoot them or try to be strategic with your utility. I think that does kind of bring it down a little bit, because after a while it just kind of became repetitive, because I knew the ease, and I played on hardcore for the first half of the game, and then I was trying to finish it in time for the cast, so I put it on normal. And so towards the end of the game, I was just like running up to people and just like mashing B and just going through the cool cutscenes, which are cool looking, but it wasn't very, the satisfaction waned over time. Yeah, there really wasn't a reason to be stealthy. I liked like the grenades, but the grenades were like almost a do-all. Like they did everything for you. Like they opened stuff, they killed stuff easily. Like they allowed you to fire and deal damage while in cover. You can use them while jumping. Like it was, a lot of the time I just found myself not even shooting, because it was a lot easier just to use grenades and rockets, and well, not even rockets, because I'll talk about that later. But grenades and melee stuff, and that was just easier than even shooting a lot of the time. Yeah, the melee stuff was cool, but yeah, it got repetitive. I thought the swimming was fine. I don't really remember. I mean, it is what it is. It's swimming in a 2D side scroller. There's only so many ways you can really do it. I thought it was sufficient for what it was. I didn't like it. I mean, I didn't dislike it, but I'm not like, oh, I love the swimming. It was swimming. It was it. So
I guess maybe it just showed up more than I thought it would. Would be a better way to put it. And maybe
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if by this point I was just already so turned off that I was maybe being over analytical or looking for things to dislike. I certainly tried not to, but
yeah,
that is a possibility. But yeah, you mentioned rockets and stuff. Let's talk about it now. I thought that the actual like gun combat, auto aiming aside, the shooting and controlling the gun, I thought was actually pretty okay. I thought that the power ups were pretty okay, but I have kind of a weird criticism, not a criticism, but something that was disappointing, probably to no one but me. But I was just like, man, it would be cool if like there was like these crazy weapons, like unique weapons that they're making in this shadow complex, instead of just like your big upgrade is like grenades or like a rocket launcher or some spray foam.
Yeah.
So that's like a minor critique, but doesn't really mean anything. But that, I don't know. I thought that it could have been just a little bit more flashy, I guess is the word.
I agree. I mean, like you go to like a game like Axiom Verge, which has all those different kinds of weapons and stuff, right? Like this game, you have. I mean, the upgrades are essentially Metroid upgrades, except like the foam gun and like the grenade launcher, the noob tube, which I thought it was funny that it was a noob tube and not necessarily a separate grenade launcher. Like the foam gun you barely use outside of its like utility to open up new areas for you. I think I used it once in combat against the Walker boss. Like that, like the upgrades are only really there to get you to new areas, and they don't really change the actual gunplay or gameplay too much, except like the grenade launcher. The shine spark is cool. That kind of changes things up a little bit. Obviously the hook shot. I think my biggest thing, and this goes to a larger issue, is the pacing of the game. Is that I didn't get a lot of those cooler upgrades until way later in the game.
In fact, I didn't get those at all.
I mean, I got the hook shot like way later, like the double jump way later. The missile launcher, I went through the game, a majority of the game without the rocket launcher. I went by so many red doors and I never got the rocket launcher. It was only until the very end of the game where it forces you to have the rocket launcher is when I then was like, oh, I have no idea where it is. And the end of the game, when I had to like go around and collect stuff, and like a bunch of the cooler upgrades in the game are backloaded towards the back portion, that was my biggest problem. Is the pacing of this game is so off. There are some portions of the game where there's like plot happening and you're getting upgrades, and then there's other ones where you're just taking forever to get from one place to the other, or you're going around on that like the end of the game collectathon to get everything you need before the final boss is allowed to be fought, which is so annoying, and I hate that games do that unless you're Donkey Kong 64. And stuff like, so like that stuff was, I mean, there's a portion of the game where I was just like, I got through a majority of the game without having to look anything up, but then at the end I had to like look up where the rocket launcher was, so I had no idea where it was, and then I look up something else and I'm like, what is this? Like the game stops telling you stuff, or like that objective line just all of a sudden stops working. I'm like, I have no idea where Claire is. I hid her apparently behind a cabinet in some room, I guess. I don't know where she is.
That was horrible, by the way. She
her.
decides to stay in the room that she was captured in because no one will look there. Jesus.
That was, so my understanding from that was she was staying in there because, and that's why they needed the suit, because Nolan North wasn't strong enough to carry her like limp, like, because she was like, I don't know, she was not paralyzed, but had like something like injected into her so she couldn't move. So he's like, I can't carry you. There's a whole cave system. Like, I can't carry you out. Like, it's impossible. And he's like, I got to get that suit. I guess because they had found out about it. Like, I got to get that suit. That's the way for me to be strong enough to carry you out. And even later, when he gets it, he's like, I can carry 10 of her out. Like, he's so pumped. So that's why she gets left in there, is because he's like, well, I got to go get the suit. Where should I hide you? And she's like, well, the best place to hide me would be in the room that they're keeping me, I guess. I assume that's because he also couldn't really bring her anywhere else to hide her. So I guess they were just kind of hand waving it, like, just put her in the cabinet, like, whatever. I don't even think she even gets behind the cabinet. It's like in that cutscene either. But yeah, I think it was because he couldn't literally physically move her is the story reason. So I'll give them that pass. But it was funny.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to me like after I got the foam, you did just hit like a brick wall, and I
dude,
just rapidly lost my motivation to continue, and unfortunately I never kind of got over that. So it does sound like there's some cool items that you can get towards the tail end of the game.
There are. There's like a double jump and like a hook shot, but that's the thing too, is that's another problem with the game I had, was that, well, first of all, there's only 2 enemy types aside from like the walkers. There's literally like a regular gunner guy and a mini gunner guy, And then
The little ones that stick to the walls.
oh well, yeah. Then there's the robots, like the little
Yeah.
crawly robots, and a couple walkers. The enemy types are not very varied. But towards the end of the game, you have so much movement like ability, like you can double jump and like coast, so you can like jump and boost, and then jump and boost. Then you have the hook shot and all that. You can literally just circumvent every enemy that you run into because, and that's aside from the fact that you can blast by them with the shine spark and literally disintegrate them. Like it's kind of like towards the end of a Metroid game where you have like, you know, you have like the screw attack and you're just like mauling everything.
Right.
It's kind of similar to that, but instead of going through everything, you're literally going around it all because the AI in the game isn't great either. It takes forever for stuff to turn around and like aim at you or chase you down. So like like literally the last boss, spoiler alert, the last boss is, so you know the house in the middle of the lake.
Yeah.
Okay. So under that in the lake is a huge ship, which you don't know that until the final boss. That huge ship is going to go to San Francisco and I'm assuming glass it or nuke it. I don't know what they're doing. So the ship goes off into the sky. Nolan North has ample time to get on the ship, but doesn't. He complains about that, and then he's like, well, I got to take it out. Thankfully, very conveniently, the place where the ship took off, there are nuclear warheads stationed there. So Nolan North has to go to the 3 stations where those nukes are, activate the nukes, and then fire them at the ship. Why these bad guys don't just use those nukes to nuke San Francisco from this lake instead of taking a ship there, I don't know. But those nukes are conveniently there, so Nolan North can aim them and fire them at the ship. You fire both nukes at the ship, or 3 nukes at the ship, and it goes down. The boss fight is easy because there are not a billion, but there are a ton of enemies all across this launch pad. Because you have so many movement abilities, I just flew across all of them, avoided all of them, landed on the pad, hit the button, quickly shot it, and then jumped to the next one. And I don't think I shot a single round in the last boss fight. So you didn't miss much. But yeah, there's so much movement ability towards the end of the game, and the enemies don't scale with you except some of the walkers. You end up being able to circumvent everything.
Which is too bad because I feel like when you get the screw attack in Metroid and you're mauling through enemies, like that feels satisfying because you're like, I'm so powerful, like I'm just, I only need to fight the enemies that I need to fight. But that's always felt satisfying to me. But yeah, that's
exactly
that's too bad. One other thing that I wanted to quickly mention as well, which I kind of thought was cool, but like again, kind of goes back to my complaint about how the power ups are just like generic items. I thought that the flashlight illuminating like the doors and stuff was kind of neat, like the different colors that you need and like the colors are assigned to the power-ups and stuff. But then it's like it's a good concept, but I was like, man, like is there anything else other than a flashlight that we could have used to achieve this? Like instead of like this multi-dimensional, he's got like the flashlight from Luigi's Mansion that it just like. I was like, okay, this is a cool flashlight, I guess, but maybe I don't know.
But he's a regular guy. About it, I was like, that's the thing. Is he's a regular dude, so he just has a flashlight on him. That's the first item he has. Like that's the thing.
And I totally get that. I don't know. I wonder if there could have been something else. Like he's a regular dude, but maybe could have picked up something in the Shadow Complex. I feel like I'm being nitpicky, but it's just one of those many little things to me that just makes this game so generic,
I guess, but like. I think the thing too is that when you go back and look at this game, they clearly weren't trying to like really innovate on the formula. They were trying to make a Metroidvania as people kind of knew it at the time for Xbox Live Arcade, because Metroidvanias were kind of like a Nintendo thing, maybe like a Sega PlayStation thing, but like Shadow Complex, a big reason why it was big at the time was because it was a Metroidvania coming to Xbox Live Arcade. That was a big deal, and being made by Epic Games. Like that combination of factors was a big deal. I don't think they were trying to reinvent the wheel, right? Like they were trying to make a solid Metroidvania game that didn't really change the formula too much. So I think that's why like the story was kind of generic, because they weren't trying to do too much there. The upgrades are Metroid upgrades because that's the kind of the point. They were trying to evoke the same kind of feel and style. So I think that was a double-edged sword. For the one part, it did a good job, I think, of, bringing back familiar elements of Metroidvanias. But at the same time, because of how it executes that, it doesn't have its own identity or a very distinct one that's very memorable or anything. Like honestly, like I never knew what the story of Shadow Complex was, and there isn't very much of one at all. So, yeah, that's the thing too, is that at the end of the day, I think their goal was to make a simple not a simple, but a Metroidvania game for Xbox Live Arcade. They weren't trying to be innovative. They weren't trying to reinvent the wheel. And in that way, I think it did its job. I thought it was fun. I thought it was, a good game that I probably won't revisit, but for the time I played it, I thought it was pretty cool. I had some issues with it. It wasn't perfect. But at the same time, I know that they weren't trying to like do more than what it is, right? I don't think they ever like made it seem like, oh, this is like the new, like a modern Metroidvania. Like it was a modern Metroidvania, but they never really made it seem like, oh, this is the new Metroidvania. Like this is what Metroidvanias are going to be like. Like we're making a new thing, reinventing it. I think they were trying to make it similar to what people were used to. And I think it did its job well. I think it was a pretty decent game. I'd recommend it if it's on sale.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you just said. I think, at least for me, so like I'll use Gears of War as an example, right? Like that's kind of like this fantastical, like you still got all your guns, your grenades, etc. But like you're battling like aliens, like you're on this incredible alien planet. Like that game, the story makes no sense from the two that I played, but like that's okay because it's just like you're having fun. It's about the great characters that you have, and like that I feel like that fantastical element is definitely lacking in here. I think you put it best. It doesn't really have a great identity onto itself. So maybe what I keep coming back to is, that opening scene where you have awful Nolan North and Claire just getting the heck beat out of her.
Whoa. Nolan, man, I cannot agree. I thought Nolan North was great in this. I mean,
Hold on.
He did not have a lot
I don't want to bury
with.
Nolan North. Sorry. I'm
He
going to
did not
bury
have
this,
a lot to work with.
Yeah, I'm going to bury the stuff he was given to work with. Let me clarify.
Yeah.
Nolan North himself was fine.
He did his best with what he had.
Yeah.
There were.
This was Undertaker wrestling Great Gonzalez at WrestleMania. Like it wasn't good, but he did his best.
But yeah, I think at least it was funny bad for me at some points. I mean, there were a couple points where it was just bad, but there were a couple points where it was funny bad. So.
Okay, so one more thing that I just want to mention because I mentioned it on every Inspired by Metroid episode that we've ever done, and then I'll turn it over to you. I also thought that the map wasn't very good. I feel like if you're a Metroidvania, by God, you got to have a good map. The map was just okay. I thought I didn't really like how it only kind of revealed itself in certain segments. I thought that your marker was a little bit small. It was kind of confusing to tell where you were at times. This is a hang up for me in Metroidvanias, as anyone listening can probably tell. So I don't know. This is probably, again, I'm being nitpicky. What can I say?
No, I thought the map was okay. It definitely, there were times where I didn't know where stuff was, and for me, someone who wasn't like, who was just kind of trying to like play the game in a day, I thought having like the objective line and the marker was nice because like if I wanted to explore, I could. And honestly, there really wasn't much to explore if you deviated from the path it gave you anyway. So like I thought it was okay. It was like, okay, I don't have like, because there are portions of the game where it doesn't give you the line intentionally. I'm like, where am I supposed to go? Because it doesn't give you like a good idea at all. It's like, again, when you're like, go back to Claire, I'm like, I have no idea where Claire is. You kidding me? Like, and she ends up being in like some random room on the right side of the map that's not like separated like distinctly on the map or anything. It's just a random room. Yeah, that was kind of annoying. I think that was, I think the only other gripe I really had with the game, I thought I thought it looked better than I thought it would. There were a couple times like at the beginning where I was like, oh, this kind of looks like a cell phone game, but there are some effects like in the boss fights, like there's some pretty decent visual effects and like cool ideas that they have in this game. It aged better than I expected. But one other issue I had with the game, this goes back to the gunfighting, is that like something you never have in Metroid is like a war of attrition where like you're sitting behind cover and like trying to whittle away at someone who's like at an awkward position, like high up in a room, you know? Like in a Metroid game, you're almost always able to like get the job done from any angle or able to get into a position to take care of the job. There are a couple times in this game where like I was pinned down and like there are multiple people shooting at me from multiple angles. Damn it, you know? And like there weren't I didn't have enough in my arsenal yet to like really take care of the job efficiently. So I'm like sitting behind cover, like waiting, trying to get pot shots off. And I'm not using the auto aim. So it was actually harder with like some of those farther away enemies because like even the smallest amount of movement on my stick, like completely changed the angle. It was hard to get some shots off actually. and I had to like really like be patient, and that was like at some points that was like really grinding on me. I was like, oh my god, like it took me forever to get through some rooms just because there was a lot of fire, going in my direction. But I guess that's the game. It wasn't exactly Metroid. I would have liked less of those war of attrition moments, but it is what it is. I still thought it was, fun overall. But yeah, I didn't have as many grapes as I would have expected from this game, but it certainly doesn't like, I'm like, damn, I got to play this again. Whereas like I might go back and play Guacamelee. I'll definitely go back and play Axiom Verge, stuff like that.
Yeah, well put. So I just want to make it clear again to everybody listening. I beat up Shadow Complex here. I did not finish it, so I only played about half of the game. So take my word for what you will. But yeah, I don't know that I would recommend this to Metroid fans. Maybe, you know what? Like you said, maybe if it was on sale for a couple bucks, or maybe if it was free. If it was free,
if
play
it's
it.
free, definitely. Like I said, I spent $14.99 on this. I don't think in 2021 it's worth $15 anymore. I think they could. I mean, it doesn't seem like they have any plans on discounting it. It's not even on the Game Pass. It really should be on the Game Pass. I think if it ever goes on sale, if you can try to grab it for $5-10, I think that's a very fair price for this game.
Yeah, one of the reasons that we waited so long between our last Inspired by Metroid, which I think it was Guacamelee that we did last, in this one, it's because I was like waiting for it to go on sale and it never did. And I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just buy it. And I agree wholeheartedly with you. So yeah, there it is, man. That's Shadow Complex, easily the biggest disappointment of this Inspired by Metroid series for me thus far. Any final thoughts that you want to get off your chest before we get out of here, Dak?
No, I mean, I'm glad I played it. I think honestly, at the end of the day, it's still a Metroidvania game that if you like Metroidvanias, it's worth at least giving it a shot. There are only so many out there. I think it has some kind of historical value because of like the launch. It was a big game at the time. It was a big deal, and it was like the only Metroidvania like for Xbox Live, or like that was it, like an Xbox Live or an Xbox Metroidvania. Like those didn't exist. I do remember it being a big deal, and I don't think it's that bad of a game. I think, if you like Metroidvania games, turn off the auto aim, maybe use it a couple times. I think it's worth checking out. Again, definitely see if you can get it on sale though.
There you go. Shadow Complex walked so that Ori could fly. That is going to do it for us. Hopefully we see some Axiom Verge 2 news very, very soon. Thank you guys for hanging out with us and listening to our thoughts on Shadow Complex. Again, we want to invite you to join the Omega Metroid Discord. We'd love to have you and talk about some Metroid and maybe even some Shadow Complex. If you completely disagree with Dak and I, we'd love to hear your thoughts. So check it out there. We are over on Twitter at Omega Metroid Pod, at Spiteri316, and at DakCity_, and of course, check us out over on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, Apple Pod, wherever you get your podcasts. Go like and subscribe, leave us that sweet 5-star review if you think we've earned it, and we will see you back here next week for the second installment of the definitive ranking series. Until then.